I'm trying to talk people off a ledge that I'm ready to jump off of,
Oh,
because it's just so bad around here right now, and we just feel like it's inevitable that Billy Napier is going to be gone.
yeah. The At times like this, and you've seen situations like this, and so you can certainly speak to it. I become interested in how Billy and the staff handled this because, to your point, it feels like an inevitability. So, what's going to happen? Are you going to check out? Is the team going to quit? Are you going to go down swinging?
Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, and welcome into another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Dooley Dome Gator Studios. Great show today. Chip Patterson's going to join us from CBS Sports, and of course, he has the Cover 3 podcast as well. Really knows his stuff. I love talking to Chip. We've got our guests are lined up for almost a month. Matt Baker's going to join us next Thursday. Of course, Coach Spurrier will be back in here Monday. And then Sam Kahn from The Athletic will join us the Texas A&M week to talk about Texas A&M. So I tried to get everything organized early and looking forward to this weekend. There's no doubt about it. We'll talk to Chip a lot about that. So we're excited. I am excited anyway. Let's get to our Royal Blue starting five, brought to you by our friend Randy Royal at Royal Blue Yacht Sales. What a great job he does, and we appreciate him very much. Our starting five, I'm going to start because I always kind of make the starting five what I think the five biggest stories are. And to me, the biggest story that came out this week was the SEC schedule release. Now, I looked over the many year, all 4 years of Florida's schedule, and I went, it's not bad. That's okay. Florida's okay with that. There's a lot of stuff going on. There's rivalries that are going out the window. In fact, I read where Kentucky they may not play Louisville anymore because their formula. And I read this column by C.L. Brown up in Louisville. Their format, or not their formula, I should say, not format, is to play three teams you should beat in the non-conference. And that gets you 3 wins. Now you only need 3 more to win. But now that you're going to 9 games, one of them probably won't be Louisville, and that'll be interesting to see if that stops. We also saw Florida LSU not playing next year. We saw Florida not playing Tennessee, which, and again, the Florida Tennessee is a new rivalry, but it's still a rivalry. But that's fine. Look, I like that what they're doing, and I like the way they're trying to make sure that every athlete who plays 4 or 5 years at a school gets to see every campus. Now, there aren't that many that are playing 4 or 5 years at one school, but I do get the point of it. The point of it, the whole Georgia is going to go to, I think it's 2027, they go to Texas A&M for the first time ever. That was bad scheduling done by the SEC. They did not do a very good job of scheduling. And look, anybody who's a Gator fan right now is saying, yeah, you guys killed us the last 2 years with their schedule, and we had a bad coach. Again, I don't want to say that out loud. Bad coach is not what I think of Billy Napier. A stubborn coach. Let's leave it at that. But he's 20-22, and that is not going to go away. That record is going to be what it is. Now, I will say this: there is still hope, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But anyway, the schedule is not as bad as I thought it might be, but it's still very difficult. You got to go to Texas again, but you're going to go everywhere. You got to play everybody. It's a 16-team league. You're eventually going to play everybody if you're here for 5 years, and that's great. I like that. I don't have a problem with some of these rivalries going away because in some cases they've gotten a little ugly. And Florida LSU is one of them. I mean, Jabbar Jalouk is, going to miss 2 more games because there was a kind of a fight kind of situation between Florida and LSU. And that's happened for years. Almost every year it happens. Maybe they shouldn't play anymore. You don't want to totally get rid of your rivalries, but, you're going to have to. That's just the way it is, and it's okay. And I don't look, the fact that Florida's going to play at Auburn next year. This is what Gator fans have been saying for years. Why do we not play the closest school next to us? It makes no sense. Sometimes they've been lazy scheduling, but I think this is a good schedule. And I haven't seen anybody really complaining about much. Maybe the rivalry is going away a little bit, but for the most part, people going, yeah, I can live with that schedule. It feels like they evened it out a little bit this time. And that's what they should have done last time, but they didn't. Anyway, let's move along to number 2 on our Royal Blue starting 5. And that is that it is a pretty amazing thing when you sit here and look at Mike Gundy getting fired. And of course, for them to fire him, which I totally have no problem with them firing him. I'm not a Mike Gundy fan, never have been. This is a guy who basically every time a job would open up would get Jimmy Sexton. I think Jimmy Sexton's his attorney. If it's not whoever it was his agent, I think it is Jimmy Sexton though, to float that he was interested in these jobs. And even Florida bit. And they called him and talked to him. And after they talked to him, they go, he doesn't want to come to Florida. He's just trying to get more money. And that's what he would do every year. And then finally, they got bad, 3-9. He didn't seem to adapt. I have no problem with him getting fired. But, of course, when that happens, immediately Florida fans go, well, then if you can fire a coach after Game 4, why can't we fire a coach after Game 4? Well, there is a big difference. There's not going to be a lot of people vulturing that roster where they're just coming in and going, hey, you guys can all leave, 30-day window. I don't think there's a reason they were 3-9 last year and they won one game this year. They're not very good. They're not very talented. They haven't done a good job. They haven't done a good job in the portal. They haven't done a good job with NIL. They just haven't done a good job. And that's why they're not good. So, but the difference is Florida does have a pretty good roster. They're just not playing like they have a pretty good roster. In some areas, they certainly have. And I think that is I'm getting off on a little bit of a tangent here. I think that is the bottom line of why Gator fans are so mad right now. Because not only do they feel hornswoggled, but they also feel like if we're supposed to be better this year, and we were in every game. We had a chance to win every game. Certainly, obviously, South Florida, you should have won the game. If you just don't spit on a guy and don't have another penalty. LSU could have won the game. There's no doubt. LSU did nothing special except play great defense and let DJ Lagway throw them the ball. And then, of course, Miami, it's 13-7. You got the ball. You're driving. And you go for it on 4th down, you have a 3-yard play on when you need 4. And it's just, I don't even want to talk about it. But Billy Napier did say this week he is still calling the plays, whether you like it or not. I mean, there's no point even discussing this anymore because he's going to be stubborn about it. Stubborn money don't make money, right? But he is not going to give it up. And I mentioned this on the air yesterday. I said, Jeff, on the Tailgate Show, 4 to 6 weekdays. I said, Jeff, if he gave up the play calling, what makes us think the offense would look any different? It's still the same offense. It's still the same playbook. It's still a quarterback that you're trying to find out what works for him. Yeah, they may. If you turned it over to Russ Callaway, maybe he would call some things differently. And I think there are times when he does call some plays. I'd like to know the breakdown of that, but it's hard to get information out of there. Anyway, we'll just see what happens. 3 Power 4 coaches now have been fired, which, boy, was I wrong about. Nobody's going to fire anybody because of the $20 million they had to pay out to everybody. I was dead wrong about a lot of things, but that was definitely one of them. All right, let's move along to number 3 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that is the news that came out over the last basically at the Wednesday teleconference. Dijon Johnson, sorry, I get DJ on the head. Dijon Johnson out for the year, knee injury, and that's sad. Certainly doesn't help. Caleb Banks, I don't know if he's going to come back, when he's going to come back, but it's not going to be soon. They got a lot of injuries. They're banged up. Obviously, DJ Lagway's fine. He was in a boot for one day, and everybody freaked out. And they go, Termel Jones is going to start. This is going to be his first start. This will be great. Now, of course, no, it's not. Look, the bottom line is Florida's got good enough players to win out. I'm going to say it right here, right here. Florida's got good enough players to win out. And think about that. If they win out, they'll go 9-3. They'll go 7-1 in the SEC, right? That means they're in the SEC championship game, right? And I would think they'd be in the playoff. Now, if they got beat badly in the championship game, they probably wouldn't make it. But if they could win it, my point is there is a light at the end of the tunnel. But I just don't know. I don't see it happening. I'm just saying it could happen. Because if you did win out, and what game do you think is unwinnable? Texas in the swamp? I'm sorry, but I still believe in the swamp. It ain't the swamp's fault. And it ain't the fans' fault. It's the players and coaches' fault right now where they are. But if you can play with Miami and LSU the way you did on the road, you can beat Texas in the swamp. You just got to play smarter, play better, right? You can beat Texas A&M. I know Texas A&M. I'm curious about their game with Auburn this week. That'll be a good game. You're good enough to beat them. You know that. Doesn't mean you will, but I'm just saying you're good enough to beat them. But just think if you did win out, you would have beaten Texas A&M on the road, Georgia in a neutral site, at Ole Miss, and then finish it up with Tennessee and FSU, who right now are highly ranked teams. I'm just saying, if they can win out now. Chances of doing that, chances of not winning another game may actually be higher than they are of them winning out. And I say that not jokingly. Every game that's left on their schedule, they could lose. And I still believe every game left on their schedule, they could win. And that is where we are right now. Because if they go 2-10, like FSU did last year, we all know what's happening. We'll talk about with Chip Patterson the inevitability of Billy getting fired, but I do want to caution people. Last year it was an inevitability too, and it didn't happen. And he kind of got the power back, and things, there were suggestions made that he needed to give up play calling, he needed to get rid of certain coaches, and then when he won those last 4 games, they went, no, I'm not doing any of that, and all that stuff happened. So. I'm just saying. Let's move along to number 4 on our Royal Blue starting 5 before I say something that'll get my press credential revoked. It's actually right over there. Yeah. All right. The Ryder Cup is this week too. I don't know if you heard about that, but I am so excited about that. My optimism is not high, but it got high because they were talking about how the Americans have won 3 of the last 4 at home. And we all know what the crowd's going to be like at Bethpage. It's going to be crazy, man. It's going to be wild. I hope there's no stupid incidents, but it's going to get loud. It's going to be noisy, and it's going to be how they respond to it. And but I still like their team better than ours, to be honest with you. I'm rooting for the Americans. You know that. But Rory, I watched Rory's press conference. I don't know if it was today or yesterday, but his press conference, and I was like thinking, this is why I love Rory McIlroy. And he was talking about how much he loves the United States and how living here is so great because this is a land of opportunity and everything. And I'm like, go Europe. But no, I can't do that. I love Tommy Fleetwood. No, I can't do that. They're saying Scotty Scheffler's got to get 4 points for them to have a chance, and I don't know. I don't know if that's going to happen. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Europeans are the underdogs, believe it or not, because of that home field advantage. But I will say this, they only have to get to 14 points, and the Americans have to get to 14 and a half. And those of you who aren't golfers and don't understand the Ryder Cup and don't care about it are probably going to move on to something else. But I will tell you, the Ryder Cup is going to be on my TV, one of my TVs, at all times. at all times, probably with the sound on. Because I don't like to watch football games with the sound on. There's just announcers I can't listen to. But I will have the 3 TVs going. Let's move along to number 5 on our Royal Blue starting 5, and that is Steve and Christine Wendig, Boss Heart Realty, present Gators of the Week in Olympic sports. And this kind of slipped by me, so I want to make sure I got it on noted, duly noted. See, another duly noted podcast. Paloma Pena was the SEC Defensive Player of the Week this week. Pitched a shutout against South Carolina. Of course, it was a 0-0 tie. There's not a lot of offense with this Florida team, but anyway, they do play again Friday at 7:00 against Georgia at home. So that'll be at the Diz if you want to go out and see that. By the way, volleyball plays Friday against Mississippi State at home and then Sunday against Alabama at home. I wanted to get those out there because we want to help the Olympic sports any way we can. I'm sure there'll be a big crowd for volleyball. Steve and Christine Wendig are big supporters of women's sports, and we have that segment every week about that. And appreciate them. Appreciate everybody. All right, we've got to take a break. When we come back, Chip Patterson from CBS Sports and the Cover 3 podcast will join us. Chip is really good, really knows what he's talking about, and we'll be back with him and more here on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
At Royal Blue, we use such tools as AI, bulk email marketing, trade shows, Google search advertising, and multiple websites. We take a much more proactive approach to getting your boat sold in a timely manner. With our extensive client list and broker-dealer network, we can track down vessels that might be perfect for you and your family, that may not even be listed for sale yet, giving you the right of first refusal. We have spent the last 15 years in boat sales, observing and listening to our clients. In response to our findings, we have constructed a custom yacht brokerage that strives to fit their needs and not ours. Call us today to schedule a consultation to see what Royal Blue can do to solve all of your boating needs. Call Randy at 850-974-1294. Hey, let's talk about something that's been a real game changer for many people, including me. BMI TeleMed is one of our sponsors. They're the weight loss specialists and can help you tackle that stubborn belly fat. The kind that usually creeps up once you hit your 40s. Bob Parado and Charlie Gonzalez, 2 UF-trained pharmacists, work with their medical director to prescribe and deliver the same meds that helped me lose 50 pounds. Yep, 50 pounds. That belly fat, it's not just about looks. It's unhealthy and makes you feel sluggish. So now's the time to do something about it before spring and summer roll around. If you're anywhere in Florida, BMI TeleMed, simple online telehealth platform makes it easy. Your weight loss meds get delivered right to your door fast. From my experience, you feel full sooner, eat less, but can keep enjoying the foods that you love, just in smaller portions. Plus, it helps with blood sugar and cravings. Do yourself a favor, head to bmitelemed.com to set up a free private consultation. No obligations, no contracts. These Gators know their stuff. You'll look better, feel better, and be healthier. Visit bmitelemed.com today.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And it's a great honor to bring in my good friend Chip Patterson, who does a great job for CBS Sports and the Cover 3 podcast. He, like me, is a podcaster, though he's probably way better at it than I am. Chip, how are you doing today?
I'm great, Pat. I'm glad you reached out. I'm glad we were able to make this happen. This is a lot of fun, and I mean honestly, just to join the list of dignitaries among your Rolodex of guests, it's quite an honor. So yeah, I'm having. How's the season going for you? Well, excuse me.
Oh yeah.
How's the non-Florida season part of the season going for you so far?
Are they still playing?
I hear they're at least continuing to practice, or at least some of the team members are practicing, and whether or not they are or not wearing walking boots or not practicing it, at least there's things to talk about, right?
Yeah, that's what I said was that I wish I had the walking boot concession at the University of Florida, because I would have made a fortune this year, because it seems like everybody's in a boot all the time. But they do that a lot precautionary, and I do understand that. It is going to be a fun weekend, and you and I were just talking before we came on, and there are so many baseball races that are so exciting coming down the stretch. Mm-hmm. They will not see one of my 3 TVs. Not one of them will come on baseball, because it's Ryder Cup and it's all these great college football games this weekend.
Yeah, the fact that every single slate, if it doesn't have a game with incredible implications, it at least has games of incredible intrigue. Like I even think about the early in the day, because later in the day when you've got obviously you've got Penn State hosting Oregon, you've got the Alabama-Georgia game. We get to finally see Ohio State play a team with a pulse for the first time since Labor Day weekend. That'll be interesting in the 3:30 Magnolia Bowl. The Texas A&M Auburn game. But even at the beginning of the day, when you're like, man, Notre Dame's defense can't stop a nosebleed. Are they on upset alert right now? Like, a lot of intrigue that has you just sort of peering around the corner all through the day. And yeah, just to have that going on at the same time as one of the most sort of pivotal swings that, from my professional experience, I don't even know if Saturday exists at the Ryder Cup. I'm locked into it on Friday, and then you tell me what the updated score is on Sunday morning. But I know that that's going to be something else. I'll actually be in studio down in Fort Lauderdale for CBS Sports HQ all day Saturday, and so we've got about 12 screens in our bullpen area. So I'm sure I'll be able to monitor the action accordingly.
Yeah, I've told people, and they get mad at me when I say this. If you don't have 2 TVs in your sports room, you have no TVs. And I have 3, and I would have 5 if my wife would let me, but I don't think she will. But I'm just excited about the weekend, and let's talk about. I do want to get back to Florida quickly with you, Chip, because I know you're following what's going on here, and obviously Billy Napier's back in trouble again, back in hot seat again. I mean, it feels like his butt is constantly warm, but we've had obviously a very interesting week on radio here, with people calling in with their suggestions and how they'll fix things, and let's hire John Gruden, let's do this. But it's funny, because I said this yesterday on the air. I'm trying to talk people off a ledge that I'm ready to jump off of, because it's just so bad around here right now. And we just feel like it's inevitable that Billy Napier is going to be gone. Yeah,
at times like this, and you've seen situations like this, and so you can certainly speak to it. I become interested in how Billy and the staff handled this, because to your point, it feels like an inevitability. So what's going to happen? Are you going to check out? Is the team going to quit? Are you going to go down swinging? I mean, we've seen a lot of coaches who do end up getting fired, but the way that they handle themselves kind of sets them up for their next job, sets them up for their next job interview. And so it reflects well on the team that's there, and anybody who's going to stick around for the next coach, that, to be able to see that they were there fighting. Maybe they become the leadership of the next team that takes over. I mean, how many times, Ron Zook recruited well, and some of Ron Zook's recruits won a national championship, right? And the way
actually, almost all of them, there were 21 of 22 starters were recruited by Zook on that team that won it in 06. Yeah.
And they had to figure out as young men how to handle, the end of one tenure and the beginning of another. So, yeah, in my mind, I am fast forwarding to Florida has a new coach in 2026. My intrigue becomes how everyone involved handles themselves coming down the stretch. Now, as to the how you fix it, where you go, those are those seem to be political questions, and I don't mean left and right, red and blue. I mean the interworkings and politics of a university and an athletic department. So I am curious to hear more, find out, and see how that goes. But I think it is, without a doubt, a job that is still a national championship job. I think it is, without a doubt, one of the better jobs in all of college football. And I think that while Billy Napier was not able to break through in the way that I think a lot of people were looking for, we should not look at 4 tenures of head coaches since the last national championship to think that it is impossible. I think that there is absolutely something that can be unlocked here, even in the new era as things have changed. And perhaps, Pat, the fact that it is a new era changes your mind about the kind of coach you want to go get.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't have an answer there. I mean, everybody keeps saying, "Well, who would you go?" I don't really have an answer. I don't. I have some suggestions, but I don't have any answers. That's a weird thing. Florida's made 4 hires. They could not be any more different people.
Agreed.
And all 4 of them have failed, and I count Billy Napier on that. But I wrote this in my back 9 column the other day. Muschamp didn't get offense. McElwain didn't get Florida. He just did not grasp that Florida was an everything school. Mullen didn't get humility, and
recruiting, right?
Yeah, and I don't think Billy Napier gets anything right now because he clearly is still going to be calling the plays. So I don't know what I just don't know why he's stubborn. Money don't make money, I guess, is the way he's put it.
Yeah, the ability to adjust on the fly, the ability to be a CEO, to delegate, to run an operation, those are the things that would be attractive to me if I was sitting in the position of trying to hire Florida's next head coach, because the things that make Florida great are the fact of all the power that you have and sort of, everything that you can do as the flagship university of the state of Florida. You need to empower everybody. You need to get them in line. And look, I mean, you just go a little bit north and slightly to the west. Alabama was a mess till Nick came in, and it was a one voice policy. Yeah. Everybody get in line. And I just don't know if Billy was that voice. I don't know if he tried to be that voice. But that's where you don't want to go and hire a cult leader necessarily, Pat, but you at least want to get somebody who can get everybody in line, because if everyone's not rowing in the same direction, the fact that you are so big and so massive then becomes a weakness, right? Because then people are pulling, there's different motives, and you just have to get everybody. The word that the college football coaches use is alignment. And essentially what alignment is nobody gets out of my way when I'm trying to walk in a line from point A to point B. That the university president, that the athletic director, that everybody in all of the buildings on campus, they understand what we're about. And I think that even though Florida is an everything school and coming off national championship in men's basketball and winning championships in all kinds of sports, if you want to really activate the full power of it, they need somebody who can get everybody in line to make sure Florida's goals of winning another national championship in football can be realized.
Let's talk a little bit about the big games this weekend. Of course, Oregon, Penn State being one of them. That's it. I mean, how much pressure do you think James Franklin feels because everybody keeps saying he can't win the big game and he keeps losing the big game? And do you think he doesn't care about that stuff?
I think that he doesn't care about the external pressure. I do think that James Franklin gets very frustrated with the inability to punch through in some of these big games. And I am saying that because of the way that he sometimes will coach in some of these big games. You go back to the Ohio State game last year. The game is at Penn State. They get the pick 6 of Will Howard. The place is going bananas. And then Penn State just kind of turtled up, right? They just kind of puckered up a little bit. And to my eye, there's a lot of conservative coaching, sort of conservative approach to the way that Penn State goes when they have to play against similar talent. When they're going out there against teams that they're a little bit better than, then, hey, here's Tyler Warren, snapping it and catching a touchdown. And things get really creative. But they seem to pucker up just a little bit in some of these games. And that, to me, is a tightness of don't screw it up instead of let it rip. Running with an egg in a spoon as opposed to just trying to go 100 miles an hour. And so I am so curious because he's got a super experienced roster. He's got a team that was playing in the national semifinals, that won 2 college football playoff games. They should be a team that you can trust to go and let it rip. Drew Aller, in his 3rd year as a starter, should be a quarterback that you can trust to go let it rip. We'll find out whether or not he trusts them by how Penn State handles its business, because so far to this point, I mean, they have not met expectations in terms of winning by margin and really flexing their muscles as a dominant team. And that has been one of my burning questions, is how much does flip the switch matter to this Penn State team? Because I've got anecdotal evidence that you can flip a switch if you're an elite team. I've got anecdotal evidence that says that college football is a rhythm sport, and that if you are not at a high level every single day of the season from fall camp, then you can't win the games against the best teams in the country. I'll tell you what, Oregon looks like they've been running, full speed basically since they first kicked it off. So that, does it matter that Penn State has not seemed to have the appearance of a juggernaut like we thought, because they've had a week off to try to reset? If they come out in the whiteout conditions and they're playing hair on fire, the defense is getting after it, they're hitting explosive plays with their transfer portal wide receivers, we're going to come out of this weekend and we're going to be like, you know what? Maybe Penn State deserves a shot at number 1. We will do a fast recalibration on Penn State. But if Penn State puckers up, if Penn State plays conservative, and if Penn State gets beat, well, yeah, then all the James Franklin conversations about not just failing against AP top 6 teams, but why they are failing in these games against AP top 6 teams is going to come right back.
Yeah, well, I mean, if Oregon wins, they maybe have an argument for number
Sure.
1. Yeah,
I mean, you go into Happy Valley and
Yeah.
you beat that team, then yeah, this is it's so funny too, because Big Ten and SEC fans like to, now that they're the Super 2, right?
Yeah.
They just kind of like to just throw mud at each other left and right. The very, very tippy top of the Big Ten is really, really good. And then the argument that the SEC has, which is, well, our 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are all way better than the middle class there. I agree with you, but we could be looking at a situation where, whether it is Ohio State, whether it is Penn State, whether it is Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, or Indiana, like any one of those teams could be very, very dangerous if they're able to put it all together on a Saturday.
Well, let me ask you about the Alabama-Georgia game. And obviously, if Georgia takes care of business at home, again, the heat goes right back up on Kalen DeBoer. And I don't know that they're going to fire a guy after 2 years, but who knows? I mean, it's the way college football works these days.
Well, first of all, I am not going to rule out moving on Kalen DeBoer after 2 seasons. But I think that would be more of a that would be asking for a mea culpa. Like, you just like, oh, we got the wrong guy. Nick retired in January. We panicked. We grabbed the hot coach who was on the rise. Let's go back and let's try that again. Because while this is so disrespectful to Kalen DeBoer, and I apologize I know Kalen's a big fan of another duly noted podcast. I know Kalen listens to it all the time. So Kalen, I promise you, I'm only tying this to not the coaching acumen of these men, but when Florida State moved on Willie before the end of year 2, they just we made the wrong hire. That was it. When Arkansas moved on Chad Morris before the end of year 2, they're just like, okay, look, you know what? We messed up. Like, that's on us, right? And I think that Kalen DeBoer is not going to get fired because of what happens on Saturday against Georgia. Kalen DeBoer would be fired if the Alabama athletic department and leadership thinks that he can't get the team in line. And there's so many big games, even after this Georgia game, that win or lose, his big challenge is going to be to try to keep everybody like moving in the right direction. Because when you're following Nick Saban, it's not just you're following the wins, the losses, the championships. You are following a mentality. I mean, we see those locker room videos of what it was like when Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne and those guys were commanding a mentality of competition that had no wiggle room. You know, if they start to think that the idea of accountability at Alabama is slipping, and again, Kalen, I know you're watching. Not me saying that, but if Alabama thinks that, then they're gonna want to make a move. Now that said, I do think Alabama has one of the most talented rosters in the country. I think Ty Simpson could have a breakout game against Georgia. You know, like my expectation is that this game between Alabama and Georgia will be very similar to last year's game against Alabama and Georgia. Huge swings both directions. I mean, we saw the Georgia-Tennessee game. I mean, we are kind of in an era, and maybe this speaks back to like who Florida should be able to get. You don't necessarily need your head coach to be the offensive wizard, but man, you need to have a coach who understands that in the modern era, in these juggernaut games, you got to be ready to go out there and like throw some haymakers and score some points.
Points.
Yeah.
You can't average 11 points a game in your 3 losses. You can't do that, which is what Florida's doing right now.
Right, exactly. And look, and that's the Josh Heupel, right? Josh Heupel's not going to make the college football playoff every year, and he still has yet to play for an SEC championship. But there is not a like Saturday that goes by where you're like, I wonder if Tennessee's going to be able to score today, right? Yeah. You know, like that's just something that you've come to expect there. So I think that Alabama, Georgia will be tightly contested, but for the Kalen DeBoer of it all, it will be more important how they handle things, win or loss, because they beat Georgia last year, then followed it up with losses to Vanderbilt and Oklahoma and Michigan as double-digit favorites. You know, So, and if you beat them, or if you lose, then you got to be able to reset, because there's big games that you can win that can get you right back into college football playoff SEC championship contention.
Chip Patterson joining us. Of course, he is coming to us on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line, and it is time for us to play Yes, Nowhere, Maybe with him, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. If you go in there and say you listened to this podcast or watched it and you heard Chip Patterson, then you get free fries with your order. Just say, Chip, I'm here for Chip.
I like that.
All right, number 1, yes, no way, or maybe. We will have a 12-team playoff in 2026, which is where, I think it is. I think that's where it's going.
Yes. Maybe's the softer answer here, but the way the meetings this week, as you and I are sitting down and having this conversation, they are starting to point to one of college sports' great consistencies, and that is inertia. And that is that change can be very glacial when no one can agree. So yes, my expectation is that they are in no rush to expand or adopt a new format in 2026. The current 12-team format that we have in 2025 is my expectation.
Yeah, me too. And especially when they say, hey, we're putting together this group of ADs and they're going to come up
committee.
Committee with 24-team playoff. And I'm like, that means you're not doing anything. Okay. Yeah. Number 2, on Yes, Nowhere, Maybe with Chip Patterson, Mike Gundy will be the last Power 4 coach fired this year.
No way.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I just throw that out there just to get Mike Gundy getting fired out there.
I mean, I think that because there's how many jobs will change hands, and then there's how many outright firings there will be. I think the outright jobs changing hands because of the quality of jobs that can open and the domino effects that could come from that, and the emphasis that we continue to hear. Virginia Tech, for example, my sense is that strong voices, I don't know if all of the voices, but strong voices at Virginia Tech, they are saying we need a head coach. We need a sitting head coach, or a coach with head coach experience, because the idea of this coordinator on the rise does not work with the modern college football operation, because you've got to know how to run the business of a college football program right now. So, I'm going to say no, because other coaches will be fired at the power conference level. And I think that the total number of jobs changing hands because of the desire to hire a head coach could get up to like 30.
Wow. That's a funny thing because I was wrong about a lot of things in the preseason. Talking season was not good to me. I had Clemson winning it all.
Okay.
That starts off there. I thought Florida would be way better. I thought they might be a playoff team. And I didn't think coaches were going to get fired because of the $20 million that the schools had to come up with. Was I wrong about that? 3 Power 4 coaches already canned, and we're only in the going into week 5. So,
And for clarification, 30 is total FBS. Sorry, I didn't want to say, I'm not saying half of every single power conference job is going to change, but typically we're somewhere between 21 and 32, somewhere around there.
Yeah, because the dominoes start going, and this guy got hired, this guy got fired, this guy moved over, and then you got to hire somebody to be. I get what you're saying exactly. And finally, yes, no way, or maybe with Chip Patterson, Bethpage Black will break the Ryder Cup record for most beers consumed.
Ha! Yes. I thought you were going to say birdies, which I also think we might. I think we might see
flat greens.
Yeah, flat
These
greens.
guys don't miss putts on flat greens.
Flat greens. We got some rain coming in on Thursday. A lot of our friends who were walking as members of the media say the rough is up, but not like crazy, and that all of these guys are driver off the tee on every hole, that they can, except for I think 2. So it is green light go to be aggressive, which for foursomes and 4-ball and then match play on Sundays should be pretty fun.
I can't wait, man. I cannot wait. This weekend I've been looking forward to for a long time because of all the good games, and Florida's not playing, and the Ryder Cup, and there's baseball. If I want to pull out a 4th TV, maybe I can figure out how to get baseball.
There's an argument that Saturday is an all-timer type sports day between the penultimate day of the MLB season. You've got the swing day of the Ryder Cup, loaded college football day. I'm sure I'm missing something else out there, but that's
all we need. WNBA playoffs too.
I think I didn't want to get in trouble on this one. I submitted it as something to CBS Sports HQ, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't neglecting them. They've got games on Friday night, so I don't think they're playing back-to-backs. I think Saturday is an off day for WNBA playoffs.
I guess it's too hard for them to play back-to-backs. I don't know. It's that's kind of weird about that. But anyway, it is what it is. Chip, always great talking to you, buddy. You're a good man, and I appreciate you coming on the podcast. And we always love talking to you. You know your stuff, and we'll watch you on CBS HQ.
All right, I appreciate that, Pat. Sounds good. Y'all be well.
All right, we'll be back with more of another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios right after this break.
Meldon Law has been serving personal injury victims since 1971. In those days, Jeffrey Meldon's presence as an attorney in the music scene dubbed him with the nickname the Hippie Attorney. And although times have changed, 2 things haven't. Our commitment to bettering our community by helping the injured.
Albert, are you ready to go to the game?
And our love for the Florida Gators.
If you bleed orange and blue, Meldon Law is the firm for you.
Titan MRI, North Central Florida's premier independent diagnostic testing MRI facility. At Titan MRI, we're focused on you, the patient, having a great customer experience. Our MRI equipment is modern and 75% quieter than any unit in its class. And our MRI unit has one of the largest openings of any of the newer high-strength MRI units, which allows comfortable scanning for potential claustrophobic and larger patients. At Titan MRI, we look forward to serving you.
Adams Rib Company has been a staple of Gainesville for more than a decade and a staple of the Dooley house ever since Kelsey's teeth came in. The first time I walked into Adams, I told my daughter that the green beans are always a test of a great barbecue restaurant, and they were perfect. You know about the ribs that melt in your mouth, and my favorite, the turkey plate. But be sure to go in on Fridays for Nana's Fish Nuggets. They will melt in your mouth. Adams Rib Co., a Gainesville great.
Coach, it always impressed me how you beat Florida State to win the 1996 national championship.
And I was really impressed with your 06, 08, and 09 Gator teams.
And the way you coached Danny to the Heisman Trophy.
A lot like what you did with Tim Tebow.
You know, you won more SEC championships than you lost home games at the Swamp.
And you had plenty of super games in front of our Gator Nation.
Yeah, there really is something special about the Swamp.
I guess that's why we say about the Swamp, only the Gators get out alive.
To the Swamp and the Gators, with the best beverage served at Spur's Gridiron Grill, 100% agave, Los Landeros tequila, aged in bourbon barrels for a smoother taste.
I think you mean Head Beer Coach 1966 lager, a crisp, light, bodied lager for easy drinking.
Nope. Los Landeros tequila, smooth enough to drink neat and bold enough to elevate a cocktail.
1966 lager, enjoyed on game days in the fall or whenever you need a winning cold brew.
Los Landeros tequila.
1966 lager.
Los Landeros.
1966 lager.
Y'all stop bickering.
Okay, you're both wrong anyway. The best thing Spurrier's Gridiron Grill offers are Jerry's famous chocolate chip cookies.
Okay, welcome back to another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at the Ponderosa. We appreciate Chip Patterson. What a good dude he is, and really enjoy his work and enjoy his podcast, enjoy everything about him. He's just a good dude. Again, Matt Baker from the Tampa Bay Times next Thursday, and the following Thursday on A&M Week will be Sam Conk from The Athletic, who covers A&M. Oh, he covers college football, but he knows A&M really well. So we want to get him on. All right, let us move along to our third segment where we have so much fun with all of our great sponsors. Not all of them, but some of them, most of them, but they're on other things too. And we'll start off with our Hesser and Kipke 3 Things, brought to you by our good friends at Hesser and Kipke, 352-339-9920, the number to call for all your workers' compensation and family law needs. www.hklawfl.com if you want to go on email and find them. They will get it done for you. Hesser and Kipke. Number one on Hesser and Kipke's 3 Things is the Hall of Fame announcement that was made yesterday. I think it was, yes. 3 Gators on there. I have high hopes for Marquise Pouncey. I just don't know if Fred Taylor and Lomas Brown are going to get in. I mean, I think it's that. Look, there is no doubt Fred Taylor should be in. If Fred Taylor had done everything he did for the Green Bay Packers or the New York Giants or the Los Angeles Rams, he'd be in. Because he did it in Jacksonville, and everybody's like, we never even saw him play. You know, it's part of the Jacksonville market that I think is hurting him. That's the only explanation I have, because everybody else who's on the list of rushing yards, you know, he's like wherever he is, 15th, I think it is, and everybody behind him and ahead of him is in the Hall of Fame. But I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. Again, when you're going up against a lot of great players, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers I would think would get in. Jason Witten's on that list. I think he's a Hall of Famer. But at the same time, you still got the holdovers like Eli Manning. I think Eli gets in the second ballot. I was surprised he didn't get in the first ballot, although, you know, there's an argument to be made against him getting in the Hall of Fame, but not a good argument. I made an argument against it, and then I kind of looked into it a little more, and maybe I was wrong. But yeah, he put up great stats and, of course, won 2 Super Bowls, and usually that's all it takes. So I think he'll get in. Hopefully Marquise Pouncey gets in, but if Marquise doesn't get in, he's got time. Fred and Lomas, I just don't know. Hopefully they get in. And that will be what about this? What if all 3 got in? Think about that. If all 3 of those guys got in the Hall of Fame, they had to put 3 more signs up there, because that's the qualification to get into the Ring of Honor. Now, Marquise Pouncey for sure. Lomas Brown should be in already, the Ring of Honor. There's no doubt. You need to change your criteria in the first place. I'm not sure Fred Taylor belongs in the Ring of Honor. And I love Fred. I've told this story before. He lived next door to my brother for years, and we'd see him all the time at Christmas. I love Fred, but he had some great games. There's no doubt about it. The 97, the greatest game ever played, whatever you want to call it, he was awesome in that game after fumbling a couple of times. There's certainly other games where he, obviously the Penn State game that year, but he's not up among the rushing leaders. I mean, to me, Eric Rhett should get in before Fred Taylor. Now, that's just my opinion, and nobody's asked my opinion, and nobody seems to care about my opinion, but I will still give it. All right, let's get to number 2 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is that I am weirdly becoming a Seattle fan. Still haven't seen him play a game all year. I'm just following the box scores and everything, and but they're pretty amazing. And Cal Raleigh, Cal Raleigh's an FSU guy. I shouldn't like him, but I do. Anybody named the Big Dumper, I'm going to root for. 60th homer last night, 59 and 60. He's already has the record for the most homers by a catcher, and now he is the only American leaguer to ever hit 60 homers that wasn't a Yankee. How about that stat? That's a good one for you. Who were the 3? It was Aaron Judge last year, right? It was Roger Maris. I blanked again. Roger Maris and Babe Ruth, and Roger Maris, of course, broke Babe Ruth's record. Babe Ruth's in the Hall of Fame. Aaron Judge will be in the Hall of Fame. I think Roger Maris should be in the Hall of Fame. But I'm big on letting people into things, or not. Anyway, I've kind of become a Seattle fan, and now they have taken over the lead, and they're just playing great baseball. And it's going to be an interesting postseason for that reason, in that usually I have to have teams I really don't like, like I have to root against, like the Yankees, the Mets, stuff like that. But I think there's a lot of teams I'm going to like. I hope the Red Sox end up hosting, but we'll see what happens. That gets us to number 3 on our Hesser and Kipke 3 things, and that is the Guardians taking over the lead in their division. This is an amazing story. They were 15.5 back in July. I think they were 10.5 back on September. No, not September. Yeah, I think it was September 1st. They were way back, and this is what happens in baseball. Baseball, to me, is the streakiest sport there is, because you'll go, oh, this team's terrible. Look at what the Braves did. The Braves, season's over, they're done, win 10 in a row. And of course, the teams that they beat, they're like going, wait, I thought you guys sucked. Anyway, so the Guardians are now in the lead, and it's amazing when you look at their run differential. They're the only team with a winning record that has a -2 run differential. Now, I guess we're getting hammered earlier. Maybe they got pitching back. I don't know enough about the Cleveland Guardians, okay? Anyway, I do know about Cleveland, though, because there's a great movie about it. It's called Major League. I was thinking about that yesterday because I watched the Charlie Sheen documentary, man. It is, it's really good. You need to watch it. It is like watching a car wreck, a 2.5-hour car wreck or whatever. But that's kind of what his life has been. But seems to be doing better now. Anyway, let us move along from our Hesser and Kipke 3 things to our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. And that is brought to you by our friends at BMI TeleMed. Achieve and maintain with the weight loss specialist. Just give them a call at 727-383-1677, and you can get 20% off your order. I just tell them you are listening to this on another Dooley Noted podcast. They have gotten a lot of people. The number I gave you, I got to see if I can get that updated. It was 550 pounds have been lost by people who heard about it on this show and joined and became part of it. And of course, I'm one of them. I got to get back to the gym though. My feet are killing me, and I got an Achilles problem. You don't want to hear about that. All right, the smart move of the week from BMI TeleMed was it was kind of an obvious one, and that was the Giants saying, we're going to go ahead and start Jackson Dart. Look, you're not going anywhere. We know that. Jackson Dart looks decent. Brian Dable can save his job. That was his decision. I don't blame him for doing it. Yeah, it's amazing, though. I don't know if anybody has ever thrown for 450 and then 2 weeks later been benched in his life, and that's Russell Wilson. I don't know that that's possible, but it is possible because it just happened. But that is our BMI TeleMed Smart Move of the Week. Let us get to our Adams Ribco Gator of the Week, brought to you by our good friend Adam Brewer at Adam's Rib Company, the place to go for ribs. And Friday, tomorrow, is the day you go in and get those Nana's fish nuggets. Sorry, I almost said chicken nuggets. I think I said that one time. Fish nuggets, they're unbelievable, melt in your mouth. And the food there is unbelievable. You guys all know that. Adam's is the place to go. Appreciate them very much. Our Gator of the week, believe it or not, is Micah Handlockton. And the reason it is that I read this great story that was posted today, and you need to go on and read it, by Chris Harry, my good friend Chris Harry, about Micah and his journey, and of course what happened to him last year. And he's got unbelievable quotes from the mom and everything. It's a really good story. But what I'm reading, and I'm like, what? He's gained 30 pounds, and it's all lean muscle, and he's not going to get banged around in there. And it tells me he's going to be playing a lot of minutes this year. You don't gain 30 pounds for nothing. But he's below 10% body fat, which that tells you he's ready to go. It's going to be fun to watch this team. It's going to be a totally different team. Obviously, without the three sharpshooters, you're going to have to get a lot of points inside, and you're going to get a lot of rebounds, and that's what they're going to do. And nobody's got a better front court. Nobody. And you could throw Thomas Houck in there, and who's going to play the three, but he's as good as anybody. But anyway, the Micah story is one of the most fun stories, I think. Most fun, yet was so depressing when all that happened. But now everything's fine. And what he did last year, it'll never be forgotten. In fact, put a brick out there for him. I'm giving away honors today. We need a brick out in front for Micah Handlockton for coming back, and I don't want to say saving the season. He didn't, but he certainly helped when he didn't have to. Anyway, he is our Gator of the week. Let's move along to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick pick. Drew Barry, I did mail your gift certificate at Leonardo's. I had that quick 2-week thing that we did. And Leonardo's Pizza of Millhopper, $25 gift certificate is heading your way, my man. And I know you'll enjoy it. We're going to give you 2 games today. I'm trying to decide whether you have to get both right or just one right to qualify. I think I'm just going to let you do one. If you get one right, you qualify. But these are the games. LSU getting a 1.5 at Ole Miss, which I can tell you, I would pick LSU. I just think defensively, they're going to be tough to deal with. And then Alabama getting 3 points at Georgia. I picked Georgia, but either one could go either way. I mean, they're tight games, so you've got to pick between. All you got to do is say, I want LSU and Georgia, or I want Alabama and Ole Miss. That's all you got to do. Send it to Patrick Dooley 54 at gmail.com. We've had a lot of new people getting in, and I really like that. A lot of times, especially when I post the podcast on Twitter and Facebook, people weren't that aware of it. But I will say this, it was really exciting. I know I get excited about little things these days, but I went into my usual convenience store and got my Diet Coke for the morning. And the clerk there said, "Hey, man, love the back 9 column this week." I'm like, "Oh, man." And then another person said, "Yeah, and your podcast is great." So it makes me feel good. I'm glad I'm still somewhat relevant. Certainly not as relevant as most columnists usually are, but I'm not a columnist anymore. But I still write a column. Anyway, if you've missed the back 9, you've missed 4 or 5 years of it. It appears every Monday on WRUF.com, as do the grades. Not this week though, because I'm not grading a team that isn't playing. Maybe I'll do a year-long grade, but you know what they'll be? F for offense, B for defense, maybe B plus. I can't get over the South Florida game. I can't get over the 87-yard drive. That stays with me. Anyway, all right. So that's your Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. We appreciate them. Let's move along to our Gallo Car Wash Sponge of the Week. And the Sponge of the Week is the College Football Playoff Committee. Gallo Car Wash, the place to go. That's where we go. All 3 of our cars go there. the College Football Playoff Committee had talked us into, hey, we're gonna keep expanding. We may play 64 teams. Who knows what we're going to do? And we're going to float all these ideas out there. And at the end of the day, as Chip was saying, they had these big meetings this week, and there's like, we're good with 12. Now we're going to have a committee get together and try to figure it out. Maybe they come up with a plan for 24 or something like that. But if we have to stay with 12, we're okay, which tells you they're not moving. And it may be 12 for a long time, which they sucked us in. So they're the sponge of the week. I'm not happy with them, by the way. I just want them to know this. I want it to me, it's not about whether the games are going to be good or not. It's that there are the more games you have, the better. The more I like it. And the more inclusion you have, the more I like it. That's just me, though. I mean, not everybody wants to see, Indiana go get hammered by Notre Dame. But, I mean, look, they deserve to be in. So more teams. So let us move along to and appreciate our friends at Gallo Car Wash. Let's move along to this, that, and the other. This, that, and the other, which every week is brought to you by our good friends at Notary Joe's. Notary Joe, he will come to your house, Joseph Newton, and do your notary work and get it done. You can reach him. You see the number there. I can't read it because I don't have my glasses on, but there's the number, 863-990-4884. You can reach him there. It's brought to you by our good friends at Dar Shakow Insurance. We appreciate John Dar Jr., of course, for all your home, auto, commercial, and life needs. Dar Shakow Insurance, the place to go. And by Ballyhoo Grill, where my bride and I dined Tuesday night, I think it was. Trying to remember what night that was. Yeah, it was Tuesday night. Yeah. We had a good time there. We always have a good time at Ballyhoo Grill. It's a place to go. Sit at the bar, have a couple cocktails. The food is great, still great, and we appreciate them very much. All right. Our this, that, and the other is simple. It is the this. The this is, I hate Lane Kiffin, right? I hate him. I can't stand him. It goes all the way back to when he ripped on Urban, and which wasn't true, the new Keith Richardson thing, or never even played for Tennessee, but we all know what happened there. And God, we hated him so much. And when they came to town and and Florida only beat them by 10, they acted like it was a win, and that just made you hate him even more. And then when he bolted on Tennessee, you were kind of happy because Tennessee got screwed, and then he goes out to Southern Cal, and I remember watching that Arizona State game, sitting there watching it in a hotel room with Robbie in Lexington, and we're watching that, and I'm at the end of the game, I'm looking at it, and I go, look at that body language. That is a guy who I would fire him right now. Well, guess what? On the right flight home, he got fired. Well, actually, in the meeting room at the tarmac. That's the this. That is that Florida's had multiple chances to hire him. Obviously, they've had a lot of openings, and they've stayed away from him. And a lot of it has to do with his personality a little bit. He's very polarizing, which was the whole point of what the other is. And the other is that I watched a documentary last night, hour-long documentary. I really like Lane Kiffin. Now, how does that happen? How do I go from, look, I'm the same way with Saban. Didn't like Saban at all. Found so much respect for him. But with Lane Kiffin, it's different. Lane Kiffin is... The whole documentary was about how he's figured things out in Oxford. And he's gotten closer to his family. And you need to watch the documentary. I don't want to explain it all. Quit drinking 7 years ago because he just gained weight. In fact, he gained a lot of weight at FAU. And just was... He was very humble and very... I thought it was one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. And that was, I went Charlie Sheen, Lane Kiffin, back to back. That was a lot of documentaries. I love documentaries. But anyway, I'm good. I'm good with Lane Kiffin. And whether he comes here, stays at Ole Miss, and personally, I think what he has discovered at Ole Miss is the reason he's not going to go anywhere. He likes it there. He likes the slowness of it. He likes his family being there. Then again, Florida is where Layla's from, although it's his ex-wife, but still, they still they're co-parenting. So anyway, watch the documentary, and that is this, that, and the other for today. Let us move along to our Los Landeros Tequila Smooth Move of the week. And of course, Los Landeros Tequila Go Beyond, and my favorite tequila and Urban Meyer's favorite tequila. Our Los Landeros Smooth Move of the week was Tom Brady's reaction to everybody freaking out about him. Now, I've never really grasped why everybody is so upset that Tom Brady is a part owner of the Raiders and does broadcasts on TV. And they're saying, well, he shouldn't have access to the same players because then he could convince them to go there. Whatever. It feels like a lot of jealousy. And he caught it a lot this weekend because I guess he was in the Raiders booth at some point and that people freaking out about that. So he responded on his, it's kind of like a letter he writes, like you would write on Christmas, to your friends. But it was really good. And it just said, look, it's all about what Coach Belichick told me. Do your job. And that's the name of the letter he writes. Do your job. It's a newsletter, I guess you would say. But yeah, do your job. And he says, I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do my job on radio or on TV. And then I'll do my job with the Raiders. It's possible to do both. I think everybody needs to calm the F down about it. That's just my opinion, and just let it be. I know you guys are all jealous, but this guy's still got it made, man. Okay, he doesn't have the model wife anymore. I don't know who his girlfriend is, but I'm sure she's probably, I don't know, probably better looking than Belichick's girlfriend, maybe, but right around that age, probably. Anyway, I don't want to get on to detail. Tom Brady's reaction was our Los Landeros Smooth Move of the week. Let us move along to our Gainesville Quarterback Club. And, of course, we're off this week. And it was kind of weird to not have them to go to Tuesday night. I always love going there and having fun. But we will be back this week, with our big gala at the Gainesville Quarterback Club, the oldest Gator club in the world. And we will, the gala will be, Todd Golden will be the speaker, and he'll be great. I can't wait for it. We got to dress up, though, so I have to go buy pants this weekend, believe it or not. I do have some pants, but they're too big for me now, so I got to go buy new pants. But that's okay. I need to get them anyway. And then, of course, the week after that is Will Muschamp. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks there for the Gainesville Quarterback Club. All right. And it's very easy to join, and it's not too late. In fact, they were registering people last week, signing them up to join. And so that's really cool. And it's not too early or not too late to become a member. A lot of great speakers still to come. You can have a great time there. Believe me, it's worth your while. Let us get to mybookie.ag, our good friends at MyBookie, where I have not been doing too well lately, but I think I've got the winner for this week, and that is I'm going NFL. And I'm going to the game I will be watching, I can tell you that. And that is Packers at Dallas. The Packers are giving 7 points in Dallas. Now, that to me feels like Dallas is at least going to probably lose by a field goal. I would think. So and I know Micah Parsons this is his tribute game, he's basically saying. But I will say this. I like Dallas. I like Dallas with 7 points in this game. So that's where I'm going. And mybookie.ag is the place to go. If you want to do anything, if you want to play NFL, if you want to bet on individual games, you want to bet on individual college games. Basketball season is coming up pretty soon. You can bet on those games, or you can just bet on who you think is going to win divisions and conferences and Super Bowls and stuff like that. And you can bet on casinos, casino-style games. You can bet on racing, horse racing. It's all there for you on mybookie.ag. And if you use the promo code Dooley, Dooley, it gives you a discount, and it'll be great. You need to get on mybookie.ag. All right, let's wrap it up as we always do with our Swamp Games of the Weekend. I feel bad because I'm speaking in St. Augustine next Thursday, so I won't be able to be there when we do the radio show out there this week. And I know Jeff will have somebody in my place, but I just love going to the Swamp and having a great time, which is always fun. But we got a lot of games to get to. Swamp is the place to go to watch games. You know that, right? You all know that that's where to go. In fact, it may be a really like I'm thinking about a Saturday early. Robbie, let's go watch the Ryder Cup and the early games somewhere, and we'll take our wives too. Anyway, I don't know if I'm going to win that battle, but I'm going to try. All right. First of all, Friday. I'm not going to give you the Thursday games; they suck. Friday night, though, I am very interested in this game, the FSU at Virginia game. Virginia is only a 7-point underdog. I don't think Virginia is any good. I think FSU is pretty good, but we really don't know that much about FSU because, obviously they handled Alabama, which we were stunned with. But since then, haven't really had to play anybody. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see what happens. That's 7 o'clock on ESPN. So gives you a good Friday night, and there's other games after that, but I'm just giving you the highlights because I can't give you every game. Saturday, your best noon game, Notre Dame at Arkansas. Chip Patterson was talking about that game, and Notre Dame at Arkansas I think could be a really interesting game. That game is at noon. I said noon on ABC is where that game is. The best 3:30 games, there's two to me at 3:30, and that's LSU at Ole Miss on ABC, and then Auburn at A&M on ESPN. That's definitely a 2 TV. And then you have the Ryder Cup, too. Got to have three. I may need to buy a new TV. Yeah, I think I may have to get a 4th TV. I don't want to watch games on my laptop. It's no fun. Anyway, those are the 2 games at 3:30. 7:30 is really the premium hour, and you only need 2 TVs, I think, for this because the Ryder Cup will be over. But Oregon at Penn State is on NBC and Alabama, Georgia on ABC. So you have to have 2 TVs. You got to find a place with 2 TVs to be able to watch both those games. And also at 7:45, you got Kentucky at South Carolina. Now, I know it's not going to move the needle very much, but I want to watch that game too. Kentucky is obviously a future Florida opponent. South Carolina will be next week or next year. So we'll see how that goes. And then if you're looking for the NFL, to me, the best game, I mentioned Green Bay, Dallas. That's 8:20 on NBC. And then the best game during the day, Philly at Tampa Bay, 1 o'clock on Fox. Can't wait for that. Ryder Cup is on 7 to 6 Friday on USA, 7 to 6 Saturday on NBC, and 12 to 6 Sunday on NBC. And, of course, that's when they play just singles. So, boy, I tell you what, this is going to be a fun weekend. There'll be plenty to talk about on Monday's show with Coach Spurrier. I know he'll be watching all these games and all the Ryder Cup. So we'll be back with him on Monday. Appreciate Chip Patterson. And, of course, always appreciate Zach Rothrock for doing just a marvelous job of keeping me sane and getting us through another day on another Dooley Noted podcast. We're having fun, man. We're having a great time. We're coming up to our 500th episode, and I'm trying to think, and I'll take suggestions. Who would be, now, please don't say Tim Tebow, because I tried to get him when we went to 400, and it didn't work. It's hard to get him. Yes, if I could get Tim Tebow, he would be the perfect guest. But I'll figure out who it'll be. It could be, I don't know. I got to find out exactly what day it's going to happen on, and I'll get some guys on. All right, anyway, it's going to be something special. I promise you. All right, that's going to do it for the show. Another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI and Imaging, coming to you from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. I am Pat Dooley for Zach Rothrock. I am deep, I am way back, and I am out of here.